Hi everyone, and welcome to the book club. I'm going to go through the design section first, and then I'll explain how it works. So the idea was that you have a book club of lots of different people, and you're reading a book, and you can share your comments on each chapter. And so obviously you need to select which book. You have an area here which holds the comments. You have to be able to add your own comment. And then in order to debug and make the app, I had to have some demo data to see what I was doing. So you can add some data and you can delete some data. So I'm going to show you how it works. So you can select the book by clicking on that, and it comes up with just a list of however many books you have, the titles. So I'm just going to select the first one, and you can see it fills in with the chapter and then the person's name and their comment. So then if you click add comment, I didn't build this screen so I can't talk about it, but it has the same book here, and then you would add your comment here and go back to the main screen, and it takes you back to the main screen. If you want to delete all the data, it deletes all the data from the back end, and if you want to add data, it adds the data in the back end. So now I will show you how all of that works. So the main idea is that it uses a database. So the database called BookDB is in the cloud. So anybody using this app can access the data. So if I add a book or a comment or whatever, then all of my friends using the same app can see my comments and I can see their comments. That makes it more useful for a book club. When the screen is initialized, so when the first screen starts up, it makes sure that we can connect to the cloud, and then it gets the tag list. Okay, so one thing that you need to understand is how the database works, and it's what's called a dictionary or a map. In most programming languages have some kind of data structure like this, where it's literally like a dictionary, where you have, if you think of a dictionary, it's a word and a definition. This database has a tag and some data associated with that tag. So word, definition, tag, data, same thing. And the tags obviously have to be unique, right? Just like a dictionary, you can't have 3 of the same word with different definitions. You have one word that can have multiple definitions. You can have one tag with a list of data or an integer or a string or whatever. It doesn't matter what's in that definition section, but it's associated with one unique tag. So just like a dictionary in real life. So in my database, you can see how I set it up here by when you click the add demo data. So the first thing it does when you add the demo data is deletes all the data that's already in there. And then the way I set up the data is the tag is the title of the book. So in the database, if you think of a dictionary, the word is the title of the book, and the definition is all the comments that we have put in for that book title. In database parlance, the tag is the title of the book, and the data is all of the comments. So it's just a list of comments. So if you were to look up a book in this dictionary, you would look it up by book title, and you would retrieve back a list of the comments. So all I do is I separate the chapter number, the person's name, and the comment they made with colons. And you'll see why I do that later on. But the database basically looks like this. You have a tag, the title, and I add chapter 1, Alice said, I thought it was interesting, separated by colons. Another, I add again to the list that is associated with this book title. Chapter 2, Alice thought chapter 2 is amazing. To a completely different book, right, I added Alice thought chapter 2 is better than chapter 1. And to a completely different book again, chapter 1, Bob thought this should be mandatory reading. So basically, you can keep adding to the same tag, it just adds on to the end of the list for that tag. If you add on to a tag that doesn't exist, it just creates a new entry for you. So again, the thing to keep in your mind is it's like a dictionary in real life. The tag is a word and the data is the definition. And that definition can be whatever you want. In this case, it's a list of comments. So when you select a book from the list, what it does is it sets the title to whichever book you selected, and then what it does is it calls get value from our database. So if you selected, so you want to talk about race, it says, hey, go to the database and try and get all of the data associated with this tag. And if it can't find that tag, then create an empty list. Say there's no comments. So if for some reason you were able to select a book that had no comments, it would just have an empty list of comments. So what's interesting is this doesn't actually return anything, right? So when you say, get me the data for this book, it just sends out a request for all that data and doesn't return anything. What happens is, if the BookDB can get a value, then it calls got value. So again, it's event driven. This function over here, the book list picker after picking, doesn't actually get you the data from the database. It sends a request to the database saying, hey, go get me some data, and then call got value if you are able to retrieve any data. So over here in got value, this is where the meat of the work is done. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So the first thing that I do is, the thing that it returns is the tag, which we know is the book title, and the value, which we know is the list of comments. So if the book database finds that title, then it returns that title and the list of comments for that title. So what I do is I create a local dictionary. So I create another dictionary, and this time the tag is the chapter number. So remember how I sorted the list by chapter? Because it would look really weird, right? If I displayed all the data and it was chapter 1 is this, chapter 10 has a comment here, chapter 4 has a comment here. Like we want it chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, right? Like when you're looking at a list of chapters, you want them to be in order. And in the database, we don't know if they were in order. We don't know if Alice read chapter 1 after Bob read chapter 10. So we have to get all the data and then sort it again by chapter. So what I do is I create a dictionary. So every chapter has its own entry, and then I create another list for each chapter of the actual comments. And that's why I have them separated by colons. So I can split up all of these comments back here, right? These were put in by colon, so I can split it up by chapter because I know it's going to be chapter number, then colon, then the person's name and their comment. So I split at the first colon into the chapter number and the actual comment that they made. So I set the value for the chapter number to be the comment that they added. So if you want to go through this, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I'm sure a lot of people are already scratching their heads, but I have posted this code, so I'll put a link to that at the end of the video. But basically what I do is I split out the comment from the chapter number and I put it in its own dictionary. So the final thing that I have to do is for each key in that dictionary, so for each chapter number, right, I get the comment and I add it to the list of comments for that chapter. So no matter what order they're in, I go back through the dictionary, I say, all right, get me the list of comments for chapter 1, add it to my little text box. Get me the list of comments for chapter 2, add it to my text box. Get the list of comments for chapter 3, add it to the text box, and so on and so on. So it just goes through that dictionary that I created locally, chapter by chapter by chapter, and adds all the comments into that text box. And then the last thing it does is it just says if the other screen is closed, so that's where you added a comment, then what it does is it refreshes the screen from the database. So it says, hey, get me all the comments from the list end, because otherwise when you add a comment, it wouldn't refresh the screen. So I had to add this little thing here that says, when you're in the other screen, if you've added a comment, when you close that screen, refresh this screen. So I think that's about it. It was really fun to make. And if you want to use this, again, I will put up a URL and you can download it and play with it and make it your own. All right. Thank you very much.